Welcome to the All New Marvel Roundup, your guide to the weekly Marvel comics. I am Phil, and with me as always is...
Charlie, yes, sir.
Alright, let's dive in. What you get this week, Charlie?
Okay, so on the books I read by myself, let's open up with Ms. Marvel. When last we left Ms. Marvel, she was at in New Atlan, which has been at least seemingly taken over by Lineage, or at least he's running the show while Medusa is out of town at the moment, and he is building up his force and wants Kamala, Ms. Marvel, to you and me, to join his band of evil Inhumans, which of course goes about as well as any time the villain asks the superhero to join them, so that they can rule the universe together with an iron fist. Kamala will have none of it. She faces off against the guy that she felt was cute before he got all creepy and kidnappy. And she basically beats him up with her embiggening powers, which of course are very powerful. And she calls out to Bruno. Bruno sort of tries to make a rescue attempt. She doesn't really need to be rescued, but he did bring a boat for them. They get to jump down a garbage chute, which is fun because, you know, it's like all Star Wars-y because they're very nerdy. And, you know, a really nice book. You know, I love how they deal with teen angst and, you know, issues of control and guilt and things that real teenagers go through all the time, and they handle it so well. You know, I'm really torn with Bruno because, you know, on one hand, you totally want to ship Bruno and Kamala. On the other hand, it's kind of nice having this platonic friendship, this, you know, sort of like the MCU Hawkeye, Black Widow friendship, where it's this really deep friendship, but there's nothing, it's not going deeper. Now, we do know that Bruno would like something more, but at the same time, you know, it's back and forth on that. But, you know, she gives her after school special speech a bit throughout it, but, you know, that's just part of the title now, and it's really grown on me. And, you know, as always, just a really great book from Ms. Marvel. It's clear to see why it's such a big seller, you know. Oh, though an interesting reveal. They, because the kidnappery handsome guy made the point. He was very upset because, you know, Lineage wanted her because she was the only Khan line who was an Inhuman, and Lineage says no, she is not. I mean, there's another person in her lineage who is also an Inhuman. We don't know who that is. It could be her father, it could be her mother, it could be her overprotective brother. And so very excited about that book. Really looking forward to seeing how that grows, especially with Kamala in the all new, all different Avengers after Secret Wars. And that'll be exciting. Next, I'm going to hit on Uncanny Avengers. Decent book. We get to see Sabretooth kind of let loose and kill a bunch of people. And which makes him happy because he was like, man, I was worried I wasn't going to be able to kill people anymore when the time came because I'd be all guilty. But now I'm like, no, I can let the beast out, and that's awesome. Here's what I'm going to tell you is the most intriguing point about this book. I think Marvel just backdoored mutants back into the MCU. The point being, essentially what we've got is that Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch were actually hyper-evolved humans created by the High Evolutionary. So if they can start suggesting not mutants, but hyper-evolved humans who have gained superpowers, that might be a great way to backdoor mutants in there. You can start by introducing the idea of the High Evolutionary as this being obsessed with evolution, yada yada, and performing these experiments to accelerate evolution. Now, it's an interesting point in this because, of course, as anybody who understands natural selection will say, evolution isn't an endpoint. You know, you don't just get more evolved or less evolved. you are constantly evolving, and whether or not something gets better has to do with whether or not that trait is beneficial. However, in the Marvel Universe, where very much there is that science magic overlap, the idea that maybe things do have a fixed endpoint of evolution is a possibility, and maybe arguably is scientifically demonstrable with what Wyndham Price is High Evolutionary's real name has done. Great action book, lovely art, and great. It's great watching the High Evolutionary's best laid plans start to gang anon. The Vision, although the Vision and Eve have had a bunch of little android babies. She basically, tells him, look, I don't trust the High Evolutionary either. Me and the kids are running. You can stay with these humans who you seem to be fond of, but I'm not going to leave my kids here with the High Evolutionary. And we want you to come with us. But if you stay, then know that you'll probably never see us again. So the Vision has to make that choice, of leaving his 6 billion children. Androids, they have weird physiologies. But so that happens. And then the very end, when the High Evolutionary is calling the plant people to reabsorb the dead, and as you may recall, Captain America, Sam Wilson, had been turned into a plant person, but he pulls out his shield and says, Avengers assemble. So apparently he was stronger than the plantification. I'm sure they'll explain that more next issue. Anyway, great story, great series. Definitely think Uncanny Avengers. I wasn't that big on the Red Skull storyline. The Scarlet Witch, Pietro High Evolutionary storyline, really loving. So another thumbs up on that one. And the final book, the one that is tying into everything, Last Days of Captain America and the Mighty Avengers, which sort of brings us caught up to the end of the world as we know it. Point in this. There's a lot of great human stories going on in this, and a lot of troubles and a lot of worries, a lot of animosity between Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson, or not Sam Wilson, Luke Cage. Sam and Steve are still on the same side on all this. However, interestingly enough, as I've said, in the pre-comic day preview we actually found out that there has been a falling out in Steve and Sam. Something happens on Battle World that causes trouble. But what really makes this a powerful book is when we get to the end, and Reed Richards is like, well, I'm glad we're all on the same side. And Blue Marvel basically takes him to task, and the Black Panther to task for their activities with the Illuminati. And they're saying, look, we didn't want to cause a panic. And he says, it's not about causing a panic. It's that you didn't involve us. And the Blue Marvel, and here's a point to be made in this that I think kind of gets overlooked here. For as smart as the Illuminati were, there are no Omega level characters there. The closest you have is Doctor Strange. He is granted an Omega level character. But, having Blue Marvel on the team, who is also a super scientist and has Superman-like powers, this would have been a good guy to have on the team. A guy that is very well versed in these things and has learned things that, Reed and T'Challa and Beast and the rest may not have, because he's been working with the with the neutral zone, which is tied to the Beyond for decades longer than any of them. And they didn't even think to bring him in. And, it's this idea that because they kept it to themselves, because they felt they were the smartest guys in the room, the world suffers. And sure, it might not have made a difference, but we'll never know. And so, great calling to taking to task that bomb-throwing lunatic Reed Richards and the rest of the Illuminati. And, all in all, a great book, thumbs up. They had them working with Steve without sacrificing, what their own perspectives were. And, and like I said, not for nothing, as much as the Illuminati thinks they know everything, the Mighty Avengers just dealt with the Beyond Corporation, just dealt with the Beyond and the beings, and clearly probably know more about this than they do. And so it is a sad day that the Illuminati just didn't think that anyone else could contribute the way that they can. And those were my 3 extra books. What did you read this week, Phil?
Well, we'll start with Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, number 8. The cover itself is quite interesting. It looks like a what is this? Interplanetary Space Rifle Association official gun planet target, and the target is written as Mersey Bow, the planet they're on right now.
Mm-hmm.
But back down in the lower left corner, it's kind of interesting. It says, "Kill a planet, save a universe. Kill a universe, save a multiverse. Faster, Bucky Barnes. Kill, kill, kill." Yeah.
How does that all tie into what is going on in the end? And why didn't the Illuminati get Bucky Barnes in on this?
I don't know. Maybe because he's on this alien planet. But once I get to the end, maybe a few things one thing will jump out. But it starts off with Daisy Johnson with him, who you should all know from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Mm-hmm. But she's basically flying with some kind of alien pterodactyl. And then we see Bucky talking to his older alternate universe self, and they're talking about the alien princess who they're with, who most of the Buckys in all the alternate realities either marries or gets into a romantic relationship with. And I guess the older Bucky's princess died because he explains himself as, "She died. I went on and became a bitter ex-space soldier voyeur who gets off on meddling with the lives of all the other Buckys across the multiverse." So the majority of the issue is the two of them taking some kind of psychotropic drug, and they basically have like some kind of like, what I want to say, telepathic threesome with the alien princess.
That's just crazy.
Yeah, and I don't know if the Buckys are still out of it. But on the last page, we see, I don't know if she's under mind control, but behind the one shoulder of the alien princess, we see your buddy Old Loki.
Old Loki, eh?
Yes.
Oh, my.
Because there was Loki in, I think, issue 2. But, yes, I don't know if Bucky has something to do with, something with the convergence, if it's coming.
Yeah. Or maybe in how we write our ways out.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Thumbs up.
Great.
All right. Next is Legendary Star-Lord number 12. It was a pretty good issue, considering Star-Lord isn't in it at all.
He's not even in his own book?
No. We see a character we saw in one of the previous issues, I think before Black Vortex. Let me try it. Captain Victoria, who is Star-Lord's half-sister. It seems, what is it, former Emperor Jason, their father, and must have had an affair out of wedlock. That's how he has the half-sister.
Or maybe, well, no, it wouldn't Star-Lord be the out of wedlock kid? Since he's the half-human?
I don't know. Well, I don't know if she's full Spartex either, so I don't know.
It's different for royal princes, I'm sure.
Yes. But we see through flashbacks how she was a dancer. Sounds like the Black Widow. But Jason finds out about her and sends her basically to military school, basically crushes her dreams, ruins her life. But she goes to get her father, who's still like trapped in Ember after Black Vortex, and he's in the clutches of the Collector. You might like this one because she's going through the Collector's place, and she sees some of the stuff he has. He looks more like the Collector from the MCU than like we've seen in the comic books the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But he has the Beyonder's white blazer.
Oh.
He has a molar from Galactus, and he has the tail from Rocket Raccoon. And Captain Victoria asks him, she goes, "Well, if that's his tail, what's he been wearing?" He goes, "A parasite."
Oh, goodness. That's going to come back to haunt us.
Yes, but her whole purpose, Well, the real purpose for her going to Collector, she gets her father, but it was all a ruse. She got the seed of the next Kree Supreme Intelligence.
Ooh.
So that was the hopes the Kree have of restarting their empire and making it strong again. So she's like, we just declared war on the Kree Empire. And in the end, it looks like Emperor Jason is trying to escape the Ember. But it might be a while before we see what happens next, because once again, on the last page, there it is. There is only Secret Wars.
Yeah. So that whole Rocket Raccoon tail thing, that doesn't even apply, because when they reboot the universe, Rocket gets his tail back, I'm sure.
Maybe that's why they wrote it. But thumbs up, decent enough issue, considering the main character never showed up once.
Well, there you go. Thumbs up.
All right, next, you had Miss Marvel. I got Captain Marvel. And for the first time in a long time, I really enjoyed this book. Not only that, I think this book is my pick of the week.
Wow.
Yeah. We see Captain Marvel come back to Earth after like her year in space. You know, she was doing like a tour duty for a year in space. Mm-hmm. She comes back to her friends, and she finds out her friend Tracy, who's like an older woman who's like a test pilot, who she was good friends with, died while she was out in space. And we get a lot of flashbacks to their whole relationship, and even flashback to Tracy's how she meets her partner Teddy. She calls herself Teddy, but they must have had a lifelong relationship. And then we get a flashback of Captain Marvel helping Tracy deal with her pain when Teddy died, and it kind of mirrors what Captain Marvel's going through with Tracy's death, because Teddy wanted her ashes spread on the beach. So then Captain Marvel wants to take Tracy's ashes to the beach. But when she opens the urn, there's no ashes in there. And she's like, what? And there was just a note. And then the note from Tracy is, she says, well, I finally found an excuse to get you to the beach for the day with your friends.
Oh.
Yeah.
So did she die or no?
What?
Did she die?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I guess it was just a surprise ending. I'm not doing this issue justice. It was a lot of emotion, and it was a great issue even with no action. I give it a big thumbs up, like I said. Probably my pick of the week.
Then you're gonna have to go pick that one up on the weekend.
Yeah, and the nice thing that you hardly ever get these days, it's a one and done.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
But once again, next there's Secret Wars.
Yeah, next is Secret Wars. Next, it's Sorry We're Closed was the last says next issue in Mighty Avengers. It was next issue. Sorry, we're closed. But just the two planets crashing into each other there. So, yeah.
Right. And my last one is Guardians 3000 number 8. Like I said, last issue, the future Guardians met the present day Guardians, and the teenage girl Gina Drake and Yondo got inside, and they encountered Michael Korvac, but it's Korvac from before he got his godlike powers. He still has like he has like the floating robot lower torso. But Korvac said time is broken, but he's taking it apart because he thinks he can put it back together and fix it. And he tells Gina he needs her because for some reason she is, what did he call her? I think he said a universal constant, because she might be the only one of her kind in all of the multiverse. She might be the only one. So she goes, go ahead, do it. So she starts like kind of jumping timelines, but Korvac basically says it's for some reason I can't do this. The incursion's coming. I can't do it. And let's see. Starhawk tells Gina at the end, you have to remain true to yourself no matter what happens next. Trust me, I'm one who knows. And basically everything just fades to black. I guess it was the incursion.
Yeah. And so it goes.
Yes. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Korvac tried to fix the time stream, fix everything, and didn't work.
Yeah, or maybe something else happens. Yes. We've got some theories when we get to Secret Wars.
I know you do.
Yes. So you want to do Spider-Man 2099 next?
Yeah.
We'll go Spider-Man, Thor, and then Secret Wars 2. Okay.
Read my mind.
So Spider-Man 2099. Let's see here. Kind of trying to think how I want to do this book. Well, I guess it's one of these things for a universe about to end. Because of course next month there's only Secret Wars. It's a quick adventure where we have because she bit the radioactive Spider-Man. Comic Book Girl 19 has her Spider Wasp powers. Sure, why not? And they get into a fight. She takes a cop hostage. Miguel saves the cop and eventually knocks Comic Book Girl 19 out. Or Tempest. I call her Comic Book Girl 19 because she's so clearly based off of that YouTube comic book commentator. Pink hair and tattoos and everything. Yeah, she obviously has a big following because you'll see that character, pink hair, tattoos, popping up in a lot of comic books. So at least I've noticed that.
He distracts her by telling her, "Hey, it's Miguel."
Yes, which she says later, "Oh yeah, no, I don't remember anything." And he says, "Good night," and she says, "Good night, Miguel." So obviously she remembers, and too bad they're not going to get a chance to tell anyone.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Well, will she remember? And if she remembers, will he even be in that time?
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens when the world gets put back together. We don't know if Spider-Man 2099 goes back to 2099, if he's still stuck in 2015. We don't even know what happens to the 2099 timeline at the end of this. There may not be a 2099 anymore. We may have to.
They said this was the last issue.
Yeah.
But, I mean, kind of the last issue of all of them.
Well, yeah. Well, what happens next month is you get the new Avengers 2099 book. So that's it continues, the concept of 2099 continues on Battle Royal.
Secret Wars 2099.
Yes. Oh, yeah, Secret Wars 2099, yes. And now we have Thor. So, what did you think of the bait and switch?
That's why I started working up my second theory, which proved to be true. Because for a while now, but especially last issue, it seems like they've been leading us by the nose, saying, "Oh yeah, it's Roz. Oh yeah, it's Roz," even though they didn't unmask yet.
Yeah, exactly. And then we got the big reveal, which is that it is as you predicted, and it right down to the bottom line of it, that she's getting sicker because she's using the powers. And when you said you were right on the nose with saying that, when she says magic has a cost, that is the storyline there is, she is wielding the hammer and that is killing her. And that is sadly beautiful in its own way, one supposes. And what happens next? Who knows? Because next is Secret Wars.
Yeah, but she comes back. We've seen the preview.
Well, we don't know. You see, that's the thing, is we don't know what happens, because we know in Avengers, yes, in all different Avengers, there's a female Thor, but is that female Thor Jane Foster? We don't know yet. Maybe they do this and then they rewrite it again for after Secret Wars. We'll see what happens. If nothing else, it might not be that she is dying of cancer anymore, because for what it's worth, that story is going to get old fast. It's beautiful and touching here, but if you're going to do this as an ongoing character, having her be dying because of her powers, it's as a long-term concept, it doesn't work, because either she's just going to be, "Oh, I'm dying, still dying, still weaker, just a little bit weaker now. Yep, still dying," because you can't either have to die. Which,
the story has an expiration date.
Yeah, it doesn't work. It's either she or she no longer has to die to use the powers, which is the more logical thing, is that, she'll have the powers, she'll be Jane Foster and Thor, and it'll be like when Don Blake was Thor, and she'll just walk around with a walking stick and then crack a thumb,
Yeah, but there's Asgardian magic. I think she's getting cured somehow.
Well, yes, yeah. Well, obviously when they find out, then they're going to tell her how they can fix it. So it's like, oh, well, if you just told us that, we got to fix that problem. Yeah, we can fix that. It's like, oh, oh well. Yeah. Like I said, that's kind of the problem. You do kind of write yourself into this corner with this kind of a concept. Every so often they've done that to Steve Rogers too, where they've had the super soldier serum is slowly killing you, and then now it's not, and you're back to normal. So it is what it is. But a good book, sweet book, powerful, all those things.
Thumbs up.
I guess. Part of me does wonder why Thor is kind of so obsessed at this point when he's cool with her being Thor. But he just wants to know, so it's let it go, Thor. Let it go.
He was about to tell her what Nick Fury said in his ear.
Yeah.
I wanted to know.
Nope, you don't get to know either. They haven't decided what it is yet. That's the problem.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah, it's like, oh, and then he whispered, and then, oh, he's not worthy. And it's like, well, they really should have thought what that one not worthy thing was going to be beforehand.
I just have a problem with that whole thing. I mean, the hammer knows if you're worthy or not. So now what are they saying? Is it your perception if you're worthy or not?
Well, that's not the case, because if that was the case, then Doom would be able to lift it, and we know Doom cannot.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's tried to lift it once, like in real universe. I mean, I'm sure the ones that he's making in Secret Wars 2, that those he can lift. But well, it's an interesting how that works. And maybe it's just this, and what it is what it could be is that there is a psychological aspect to it where maybe Thor is worthy, but he doesn't feel he should be worthy, Yeah. So maybe because Thor has this new bit of knowledge that somehow cuts him to the core, even though objectively he could lift the hammer, he won't let himself. So it's like almost like a psychological block. So it's not the hammer that won't let him lift it. Him. It's he won't allow himself to be connected to the hammer. But yeah. They may have to resurrect Doc Samson to get an explanation of this, But yeah, I got to imagine that it's like the Thing and turning from Ben Grimm back to the Thing, that it's, it's really just he won't allow himself to do it because he's too afraid of what that means to transition from the Thing to human and back again, because he doesn't want to separate himself from his own humanity. That's the thing. For Thor, it's something else, I'm sure. But speaking of Thors, thumbs up on that book on me. I'm sure thumbs up on that book from you. Yeah. Speaking of Thors, too many Thors in Secret Wars. So we come to Battle World and we find out. Now, here's what I find very fascinating about this story. Okay, because it's something that I think a lot of people probably didn't quite catch in this. Doom says he created the heavens and the earth, and that he is the creator of all things. But clearly he's not. Clearly he had to piece together Battleworld from what he could grab. Because, that's why there are so many things that are not working on Battleworld. Because he put together a bunch of things that don't go together. And he tried to create a coherent universe around it. But he has actually failed miserably at it. And, because if you think about it, if you were going to build your own world, you certainly wouldn't put a plethora of Hulks on it.
Quite a theory.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe Doom didn't so much create Battleworld that, like, when the old universe was ending, he just knew the right place to put himself? So whatever new formed, he would be linked to it almost like a god, but he didn't put it together himself?
Well, I mean that is certainly a possibility, and that was suggested in a previous Avengers book when they had the multiversal eternity, it was the multiversal living tribunal when it was defeated by the Beyonders, and it falls on a world, and that world becomes, fractured by all the different universes, as Hank Pym was trying to describe it. And that is that is certainly a possibility. But here's something that struck me in this, because so we can see we have all of the different various versions of characters from all the universes, and we know there are multiple expressions of different characters. So there's a Doctor Strange in the Court of Doom, but we also know there's a Doctor Strange who's going to be in the Battle World, because we've seen the previews for the first issue of Battle World. There's a Doctor Strange who is bonded to the Punisher. So there are these multiple incarnations of all of these heroes throughout these universes. And but as I thought about it, I said, well, maybe this is the case, which is that the Doom we're seeing isn't Doom. It's Reed Richards. And it's the Reed Richards who is trapped in the armor of Doom, who was married to Sue Storm, raised both of their children together after, and who took over Latveria. And here's what I'm thinking, is that when the universes collapsed and Doom tried to pull things together, because I do think he probably did pull what he could together, but he was trying to pull a world that could put him at the center. And he wanted to have a world where he could have Valyria and Franklin Richards, because we do see Franklin Richards with his pet Galactus, and Sue Storm there by his side. And the only way he could do that is if he pulled the Reed Doom from another universe to be Doom. And so I wonder if that is what we're seeing here, and that's going to be a reveal later. Now we do know we also have as we saw at the end, 616 Reed Richards shows up. And that's interesting, because we look at the cover of the next issue, and you have Reed and 1016 Reed. We saw that 1610 Reed. Yeah, 1610 Reed and the Cabal come in his ship, but we don't know what happened to Reed in his ship, except we know that ship also broke up. So it's just this interesting question. We also know that when Doom went against the Beyonders, it didn't look like he survived. So it makes me wonder, if when it all came apart, Reed's. I'm wondering on this. I'm wondering, because it was just an offhanded thought, and the more I think about it, the more I go, And here's another side note. When you look into the Mask of Doom, you can see that his face isn't scarred. So he doesn't have a scarred face, but he's still wearing his mask. Now, the last time Doom gained that omnipotent powers in the Secret Wars, he, of course, fixed his face and didn't have the mask on anymore. That he's still wearing the mask makes me wonder, is he hiding that he has, is he hiding more than just that his face is healed? And then you have that we get the quick view of what's beyond the shield, the Deadlands. And for what it's worth, is it really the best idea to give a constant supply of superpowered beings to zombies who are then going to make more superpowered zombies? I mean, it's like, oh, well, you have the Captain Britain omnipotence of your own will, so we'll feed you to the zombies so that now the zombies will have one of those.
Not to mention the symbiotes.
Oh yeah, the symbiotes, and there's an interesting thing. So you could have all kinds. I don't know, but again, that's one of these things where Doom didn't make this world. He just had to grab what he could, and so he had to grab a piece of the zombie universe to build this world, because that was all that was left. And because you wouldn't grab Zombie World if you didn't have to. You wouldn't grab Ultron World if you didn't have to. I mean, heck, putting Ultron on there, a being that we know has the potential to completely overwhelm him, not the best idea, So it's clearly that Doom had to make do with what he could grab as the universe is ending. And like I said, is that really Doom? That is the question. And for what it's worth, the white costumes, those are the Future Foundation that Hickman used. Now Hickman didn't have the read Doom there, but it does, I don't know, it does make me wonder what we are seeing. Great book all around. Big thumbs up. Can't wait to read the rest of Secret Wars and see how this all plays out. Definitely what we do see here is that, yes, everyone has always lived on Battleworld. Battleworld has always been. It is now as it always has been. And that is what we're looking at. So,
with no stars in the sky.
No stars in the sky, because he used all the stars to make hammers for his Thors. And let's see here. We have... Now, here's something that makes me wonder, okay? Speaking of Dooms. Because in other storylines we've seen, or in the solicits we've seen, we know that there is a storyline where Medusa is Doom's lover. So does Doom have more than one wife, or is there another Doom in this universe? Is there more than one Doom, and would the real Doom tolerate that? And does that perhaps support the idea that the Doom we're seeing is really Reed Richards, that bomb-throwing lunatic?
Hey, Charlie.
Oh, yeah.
Should we save the rest of this for super connectivity?
Sure. Did want to make one quick point, though. Okay. Because that was really most of what I had to say. But we did find out with the 3 lands that they weren't telling us what they were. And kind of a letdown. They're just places named after Doom. So it's the Valley of Doom, Doomstadt, and Doomguard. So,
surprise us with Doom.
Yeah, well, I guess that was the idea. But like I said, from the solicits, you already knew Doom was running Battleworld. So, although maybe they hadn't intended to release that information in the solicits, it just got out accidentally, and they were trying to hope not everyone was a super nerd and read the solicits. So, but that's Secret Wars.
And that's All New Marvel Roundup. Check us out on Super Connectivity later in the week.
Absolutely. And you can email me at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com and follow me on Twitter @CharlieEsser.
And you can email me at nightwingpdp@gmail.com. On Twitter, I'm at nightwingpdp. And remember to go to Facebook and like All New Marvel Roundup page and the Super Connectivity page.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, Battleworld. There is only Battleworld.
That's right. There is only Battleworld. The Marvel Universe is gone, and so is your wallet.
Yep.